All right, let's take a look at the exterior here. So right off the bat, it looks like it's in pretty good shape from what I can see so far, which is good for painting. I see the new windows. They've already been caulked. That is very nice. Saves me some time and effort. So basically what I normally would do on a paint job like this is I'd go around and I'd trench around the bottom of the house. This allows me to clean below the surface and to spray down below the dirt and then kick back the dirt so you don't see overspray all over the ground. That would be the first part of pressure washing. Then I go around looking for any areas of mold or mildew. Sometimes I see that in the eaves. Brown isn't going to show it as much. And I would treat that with bleach to kill the mold and mildew. We'll get rid of all this green stuff on the bottom down here. And then go ahead and give it a good pressure washing. If you'd like me to, we can address the roof at that time. However, I don't know if that's something you'd be interested or not. So I'm not including that right off the bat. The deck structure looks good. So I don't really see a whole lot of mold or mildew, a little bit up on the eaves there, but looks like it's in pretty good shape. Obviously, this side takes the biggest beating. So next thing we do is we go around and prep everything. So that includes caulking, that includes patching, that includes scraping and priming areas of loose paint. There's not a whole lot of that on this house. Whoa. Sorry about that. I would prime the ends where they were cut on the windows, but there's not a whole lot of prep. We would cover all the decks so you don't get any overspray on that. Cover all the windows, take off the lights, take off any decorations on the exterior, the lights here, and then we would go ahead and do any priming that needs to be done, do any caulking. Now the caulking, it's a relatively small house. If you want to save a little bit of time on the caulking, we don't have to do any, but what I normally do is I'll caulk in like the corner trim where this trim meets the side of the house. I would caulk that in. I would say on this house you're probably looking at about 6 to 7 hours of caulking if I did like the full job. It was done pretty nicely at the beginning, so just to give you an idea what that is. Like on this beam, just because it's in the front, you can see where they caulked before and the caulking is starting to come out, so I'd probably redo that, scrape this off, caulk it up again, repaint that. I usually don't do anything up in there on the T111, so that's that part of it. Okay, then we would move into the actual paint. Now on this house, I would suggest if we're doing a color change, here's what I would do. I would quote you for the quick 2-coat method. Now there's 2 ways of doing 2 coats. The full 2-coat method is to spray the entire house, wait for it to dry fully, and then spray it again. The other method, see, and I can see here where some people, they did back brush and back roll. So everything is pushed in pretty well. So I prefer to back roll everything. So what I would do is the first coat, go around, back brush and back roll everything. Then at that point, we can see if we have the coverage that we need. And if the colors are close, we might get that. Because I use the roller, a lot of times it leaves a little bit to be desired. So what I do to save a little bit of time is I'll just fog over it as I come down the wall. Meaning that I apply the paint, I roll it off, and then I'll come back and hit it with like a top coat while it's still flashing off and wet, not waiting for it to dry fully. That's one way we can do it. Now on this house, we might get away with 1 coat. It just kind of depends on the color and how things go. So I always like to prepare you for a possibility of additional spraying being useful. But we're looking at probably 12 to 15 gallons of paint here, and to do 2 full coats, I don't think we're going to have to add that much extra in there. So I'll kind of break it down on that for you guys, if we did 1 coat or if we did 2. And then the other thing is the color of the windows. If we go white and you want it to look proper, I would do 2 full coats. The other thing I'm noticing is on the back of the eaves here, I would spray those the same color as the body to make it easier. And then I'm not planning on painting any of the flashing unless you want me to change the color there. So those are small details that really aren't going to affect the price. Once the spraying is done and we have adequate results there, then we go ahead and we address any trim. If it's going to stay white, there's two methods I could do on this. Usually white takes 3 coats. So there's a couple ways I could go about it. I'll try and quote you 4 white. But if you go with a darker trim, it's going to take 2 coats. Typically, trim is 2 coats, white is 3. Because it's all white primed wood right now, I could probably get away with 2 coats. If I just mask off the window, and then I'd have to mask off all of the trim. So the bummer about that is I have to spend the additional time to mask the trim. Usually I would just mask the window, and then I would overspray the trim with the darker color, then I'd come back and cut it in. If we wanted it to cover better with white, I can mask off all the trim, but that's an additional step there. So it's really kind of negating, I don't know if it really saves any money to do it that way. All the caulking is done on these windows and everything, so that looks great. And then the last detail is the front door. This looks to be in pretty darn good shape. If you want to do it while I'm here, I recommend. So what I started doing for clear coats is a lot of people used to use a spar varnish. And when spar varnish goes bad, you notice a lot of changes. So I've been using a product called Old Masters Ascend. I do see some drips in the finish and whatnot. If we decide to do the front door, it ends up being about $300 to do a really nice job. What I use is $100 a gallon. I got to buy a full gallon, and then I spend about half a day tearing all the door hardware apart, sanding it down, and recoating the door. So I'll put that as a separate option. Your door in current state is fine. It doesn't need anything. If you wanted to do it while I'm here and we have the money to do it, that's great. If you wanted to wait, do it later down the road. It's not in any shape. First, it's covered, so it's not getting a lot of sun. And second, the coat that's on there is fine. So there's that. Additionally, I know I've tried to sell you on this a little bit now. I don't know so the decks would be another thing. What I suggest from what I see here, somebody used what looks to be an acrylic solid, but it's almost all the way worn off. I would go with a similar color in an oil-based stain Armstrong. Now this deck is probably okay without doing it. I don't know what the back deck looks like. Let's see if I can get up there. It looks like it's been relatively recently renovated. And that's something really easy. If you guys are working on a budget and you have somebody who's handy, it's pretty easy if you use the right material. The only hard part is the handrail. Now, looking at the handrail, it doesn't look bad at all. So, a lot of times, if you want to do the economy method, when I do the handrail, I spray it. That's where the money's at. I got to mask things off. I get out here, I spray all the handrail. If you're just doing the horizontal surfaces, which wear quicker, like when I do a deck and I care for it regularly, I try and recoat the horizontal, meaning the top cap that's flat, and all the deck boards. I'll do that 2 times for every time I do the railing. So every couple of years, I'll do the deck. If the deck boards are in good shape, you don't need to worry about it. If you use an oil-based stain, it's easy to do yourself. If we just do the top and the deck boards, you're looking at probably a day of labor and 2 to 3 gallons of material. Whereas if we do the railing and everything, you're probably looking at 5 gallons of material and 2.5, 3 days of labor. And there's a whole nother process for that. So for this particular estimate, I'm going to leave off the deck as it looks to be in pretty good shape. The front deck is very easy. If you wanted to add stain, I could probably just throw it in for cost of material. But yeah, so we'll leave it at that. I probably would do that. We'll clean it off because depending on, and then if you really want it to look nice, you could sand it. But I think this would look good with just some oil-based rustic brown on there. It would really look nice. So we'll leave it at that for now. And then on the interior. So I run, because of the seasonal aspect of my work up here, I like to do work in the wintertime on the interiors. So if you wanted to hold off until next winter, I give a cheaper price because exterior season, my prices go up. Whether I'm doing interior, exterior, that's when I got to make my money. Interiors in the wintertime, I do a discounted rate just so I can stay busy through the winter and try and keep my income coming in. So if you guys were able to do it this year, I would be happy to give you a discounted rate. And if you didn't want to do it this year, but you wanted to schedule it for next winter, I could also do a discounted rate. I was going to say, if you guys haven't moved in all the furniture, or you have like carpet that you're going to replace or anything, it's easier to paint first. But looking through this window, it looks like you're all set. In which case, it wouldn't matter if you wanted to put that off until next winter. I would love to schedule an interior for, late October, early November. Otherwise, doing it sooner than later is awesome as well. Not to say that I wouldn't, but my rate usually goes from $50 an hour to $65 during the summer. So that's what we're looking at. And I'm always willing to negotiate if you guys are in a hard spot. I live right down the road. Lakemont is one of my favorite places to work. So I really try to capitalize on taking care of the people up here so that I can stay in the area. Less travel costs for me, and it's really a good neighborhood. So anyway, have a great day. I'll be in touch.